I'm so excited that you are all here and that you are ready to make a difference in babies' lives for this whole next year. I know some of you are planning to join. Some of you are waiting on checks from your hospital. Some of you are still like, I don't know what I'm doing and I need to have more information. And so this January kickoff call is here to introduce you to our amazing panel, amazing mentors that you are going to be able to interact with through this next year. We have a year-long immersion program. Imagine you're back in college and you've decided that you're going to do an immersion program. You're going to go off to another country and you are going to live and eat and breathe a small baby for the next 12 months, just like you maybe wanted to do and learn Italian or something exciting like that when you were in high school. But we are going to do this for small baby. We're going to create a group of people that you are going to interact with, that you're going to learn from, and you are going to be empowered this next year to make a difference in your unit. And if you have been feeling stuck and you have been feeling like you cannot do this, we are here for you. And so anyways, it's going to be so exciting. We have over 300 people registered for this info call today, for this kickoff call, which is super exciting. And we have a limit of 100 Zoom seats. And it looks like we're like almost at 90 already. So my name is Kathy Randall. If we have not met before, I am a neonatal nurse practitioner, neonatal educator and consultant, inventor. I do all sorts of various things, but one of the most proud things that Shannon Tinkler and I did, and with many of these women on the screen, was develop something called the One Conference. And the women that you see on the screen were part of the original planning committee or have been participants at a high level in our One Conference in the past. So I thought what I would do is just start with a little background of who is Synapse, and then kind of explain what the year is going to be for you. So welcome to this first event in our Small Baby Collaborative. And I am beyond excited to have you all with us. And so what I want to do is just, again, run through a little bit about who is Synapse and where you can find us. Our website is synapsecare.com. And the whole idea behind Synapse is this idea about one. And so as I look at your tiles of faces and think about each of you as the individual that you are, and I guess there's a couple groups in here I see, but you are each individually one, right? You're one nurse. And what we want to do together is make a difference on that one baby, that one brain, and recognize that we do this in one moment, with one connection, with one little thing we do. That is really all we can control, right? We can have many things we want to do, but we can only do one thing at a time, right? Well, some of you might be able to like rub your head and pat your stomach or whatever that might be, but it's hard to do more than one thing. But you are one and you are enough to make a difference in your unit, no matter what your role is. And I know some of you are intending to join as groups. And when we can take those individuals and move us together, we're even more powerful. So how did we start? Well, we started back in 2017 together, which just seems crazy now that we're sitting in 2024, 7 years later. And we started in Ontario, California with a conference. And then we moved to San Diego for a few years and then Orlando, and then we had to move online. So you can see the picture here of me and Shannon and so many of the individuals on the screen in the audience here. And we had this thing called the One Conference, where we really wanted to, again, bring home this idea that you in your unit can make a difference, even if you are just one. And so we had amazing times together. We had poster presentations, we had bonfires, we were able to connect in human form in life. And we missed that. And we are really hopeful that at the end of this, the culmination of this, that we will be able to meet together as well in early 2025. This was our last conference right before the pandemic. And you can just see so many of these familiar faces. So we really enjoyed being together. And that is really what this collaborative means to us. And for many of you, you've probably seen the emails where I've talked about, has collaborative come to mean data collection to you when someone says we're going to join a collaborative? But that is not what this collaborative is about. This is truly what you see on the screen, which is connection with others, together, connecting and doing even more than we could ever do alone. And so with Synapse, we have lots of courses, and probably some of you have taken them. We have our small baby course, we have our brain cooling course, we have our AEEG course, and we have a certification course. But what we thought we needed to do was like take all of this, but then now do implementation. And that's really where the collaborative came from. And we all really believe that every little thing we do matters, and even more so for our tiny babies. And so we really want to focus on that in the collaborative. And maybe some of you have seen the info session I did back in December, but I'll just quickly run through why we have this idea of the Rubik's Cube. And I'll just highlight Jane Solomon, who maybe can wave on the screen there. So Jane and I had planned the small baby course, and she said, Kathy, as I'm describing this small baby course to my team, I'm talking about small baby care as a Rubik's Cube. And when you think about a Rubik's Cube, and this is going to be leading us through the entire year, this Rubik's Cube idea, if you imagine the baby in utero and they're completely put together, right? It's a Rubik's Cube that's straight out of the box. It's ready to go. And it is in perfect harmony most of the time, right? But then once we have the delivery, the baby gets mixed up, right? Because we have to do resuscitations and we have to do all these different things, and they become scrambled. And we have to, as the bedside nurses, we have to unscramble them. And we have to care for them day by day. And if we don't have a plan, it's going to completely melt away. And that's how I know many of you feel as you've been emailing in and talking about why you want to be part of this. You feel like, I don't have a plan, or our plan is disorganized. And so things are just not going as the way that we want. So the way we conceptualize the Rubik's Cube or the small baby cube is that each side represents a system of the baby. And that as we care for one system, we can't ignore the relationship between that side and all the other sides. And so what we've done is we've given some guidelines for each of these areas, things that you'll be able to implement. And so you can see we've got thermoregulation and skin, respiratory, nutrition, brain, infection, family. We have all these pieces because when we make a change to one, we impact the rest. And so we want to understand those relationships. And it's a great analogy, and it makes sense to all of you who've been practicing for a long time. This just makes sense to you, like just intuitively. When Jane first described it, I was like, oh my gosh, it explains things so well. And we've been able to really lead with that through our course. And now we're going to lead with that through the collaborative. So most of you know this is a year-long experience, like I had mentioned, and we are going to be meeting from this month through January of next year. And our first real implementation is going to start February 7th. So if you are still on the fence or getting all of your people and pieces together, it's okay. We're going to give you some homework that you can take from here, whether or not you're a part of the collaborative officially or it doesn't work out for you. But we wanted to make sure that you knew where you were going. And to be honest, what you're going to miss out on if you don't join, because this is going to be epic. And I don't even say that lightly. It is going to make massive change. And I just don't want you to miss out. Now, if you don't get it together and you can't join till March or April, also totally fine, because we're going to record our calls and you'll still get all the toolkits that we give. You'll just miss out on the networking time, which is important too. All right, so without further ado, I want to take a minute and introduce our advisors. And I think I've highlighted most of them on the screen, so you should be able to find them. And I know some of them have other commitments today and they're going to hop off, but I just want to make sure that you see them all. So we have 14 advisors, mentors, and leaders in the collaborative, and we are really excited about that. And so I'm just going to run through them, and then they can each unmute maybe and say hello. So maybe Jess, Katie, and Jane. I don't know who's representing you guys today. The top three there, Jane.
Hi, I'm here. Jane, you're going to hear a lot more from me later on. So we're here from St. Joseph's Women's Hospital. We've implemented the small baby program here. Feel like I've got a lot of good lessons learned, help you guys out so you don't have to learn them, and make 7 drafts to a document. So happy to be on the collab, and I'll be on all the calls and in the networking sessions.
Jane. Sharon, I see you on the screen. Megan, if you're here, let me know. But Sharon, you want to unmute and say hello and good morning?
Good morning. I'm here from San Luis Obispo along with a couple others from our unit here. We're so excited to be joining and sharing and learning and growing with everyone else.
Sharon's done a lot of work in the trauma-informed area. She's certified, I believe, with Mary and all of that too. So she's a great resource related to that. Lauren?
Hi, I'm Lauren Heimel. I am from Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. I've been involved for a while and bring the perspective of we have high-risk only delivery unit and then medical surgical NICU.
Great. I'm not sure if Natalie's here. Charlotte, I see you.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Parkinson, and I am from Hopkins. And yes, we endured the storm yesterday. We just have a lot of kids at home because they decided that there was too much water on the roads. Like I said, I'm from Hopkins, and I've been the nurse coordinator for our neuro unit since 2007, so for a while. And so I'm happy to help with any way.
Awesome. Rochelle?
Hi, I'm here from San Diego, Sharp Mary Birch, and I'm a clinical nurse specialist with 20 years of NICU experience, and I do oversee our small baby program here as well as our neurointensive care nursery, and I've done a lot of work specifically with my dissertation for my PhD in neonatal toxic stress and how that impacts long-term neurodevelopment. And in our unit, we've done a lot of work with our small baby program to improve our long-term outcomes and work on family integrated care with a lot of early skin to skin and positive parent touch.
And also doing a lot of really important work around racial disparities and some of that work too, just kind of acknowledging that and, beginning to integrate that more into all of her projects. And I think it's a really good model for all of us too, as that's a very complex topic, but a very important one that we want to make sure we acknowledge. All right, Shannon.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Shannon Tinkler. I have been with Synapse from the beginning. I met Kathy at Stanford. I was the neuro NICU educator there, and I'm a CNS now in Northern California. And I'm super excited to be here.
And Shannon organizes the best parties and is the best baker that you will ever meet. If you ever need a really fattening cookie recipe, Shannon is your girl right there. And some crazy crunch caramel cake she made one time for a party. So she's a baker. She's incredible, and amongst many other things. Bev Welty.
Hi, I'm Beverly Walty. I am the clinical nurse specialist at Chalk Children's. I've been a NICU nurse for 40 years, and I help write questions for the small baby exam, and I run our neuro NICU, among other things. And we are opening a special delivery unit in the next year or so. So hopefully I'll have more information on that.
Yeah, you and Lauren are going to share a lot of protocols, I think. Amanda?
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Amanda Williams. I'm the clinical nurse specialist out of Los Angeles at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Over the past couple of years, our team has done a lot of work around reducing IVH, improving time to first skin to skin, and promoting positive parental touch in the NICU. So I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah. And also just that kind of a guru around baby bookworm reading program stuff too. She's done a bunch of presentations for us about that. Diane?
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here as well. I'm Diane Wilson. I'm from Sick Kids in Toronto. I'm a neonatal nurse practitioner and the program lead for our neurocritical care program here. As far as the small baby group goes, my main area of focus is really on post-hemorrhagic ventricular dilatation and management of those patients. We don't have a huge cohort of small babies in our unit here, being an outborn unit. So our small babies come for either surgical intervention or PHVD management.
Yeah. If you didn't catch on YouTube, Diane's presentation and Lauren's too on PHVD, go back and look at those new definitions and some of the new care management models. Those are great QI projects if you haven't seen those, some of the new definitions and all of that. Great. I think I saw Allison pop on.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Allison. I'm from Huntington Hospital. I am the clinical supervisor here. And we have a small baby room that we do all of our small baby care in. And so we're really excited to be a part of this. I have a team on as well that are going to be a part of it. So we're excited.
Yeah. So probably many of you have heard that Jane created the small baby binder. And so Allison and her team have been beta testing the small baby binder for the last year or so. And we're going to be able to use pieces of that every month as we roll out and get your input and see what you've been doing and help us to continue to embellish and enhance all of that. So did I miss anybody else from the advisors who's hopped on that I missed? I think I got everybody. So amazing group, right? I mean, that just kind of having this idea of this phone a friend, being able to say like, oh my gosh, I have a delivery unit and I really want to focus on that. And knowing that you can, lean on, someone like Lauren or someone like Diane or, Amanda, you can just, in our collaborative, you're going to be able to just connect in with these individuals. And so I think that's one of the best things. All right, well, let's dive in. So I want to just go back to this idea of being the one and how important that is to us and everything we do. And this is one of my favorite quotes, which is, I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And so no matter what you do from today onward, I just want you to take this quote with you. It's the beginning of 2024, right? It's the beginning where we set those intentions for the year. What can we do? And I think a lot of times it's easy to think about the things we can't do, about the barriers we have in our units, the struggles we have, the staffing issues. But I just want you to look at this group of people and the other 80 some people that are, here, but not on camera, and just realize this power that each of you have, individually and as a group, to just move things forward. And that enthusiasm can really fire us up for the rest of this year. So what I'm going to do, and don't be afraid and do not leave, is I'm going to put you in breakout rooms, because I want you to interact. This is the essence of what we are doing, is to collaborate. And I have made this super easy for you, because all you have to do is say your name, where you live, what is your role in the NICU, and your favorite, most unique baby name ever in your career. And I know that could take you all day, but I'm going to just give you a couple minutes to meet each other, because this is the most important thing to me, is that you meet others. And that then you, even if you just leave today and say like, you know what, I met Maria from here, or I met Patty from Texas. Like, how cool is that? These are people that you may have never been able to meet. They may have never been in a conference. So I'm going to go ahead and create a breakout room. I'm hopping in and out of the rooms. It's so much fun. Okay, they'll be coming back from the room in about a minute. So in case you weren't able to join, don't worry. We've got a couple people who are just joining in and all of that. Welcome back. Welcome back. So welcome, Medea. Oh, look at all your faces. I love it. So fun. So fun. Did you enjoy getting to meet people? You're smiling. And you're on video now. So, one of the best parts about being part of any of these things is to just meet each other. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about the rest of the collaborative and answer any questions you might have. So when I think about being the one and thinking about all the challenges that we all face, what I want you to think about, and some of you have probably heard me say this, is what can you actually control? And Stephen Covey wrote that book, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he talked about this concept of what we can actually control and these spheres that we all live in. And so we have in the middle what we can control. So if you're at the bedside or you're in management or whatever your role is, you have things you can control. Mostly we can only control ourselves, right? Then we have, beyond that sphere of control, we have a sphere of influence. The sphere of influence is really important, because you, as one person, or depending on your role, you can make an influence over what happens in your unit. And we've all been there, right? Like if somebody comes in a bad mood for the shift, they can influence all of us, right? So it can be influence for good and influence for bad. So I want you to realize that we really can control very little, but what we can influence is even greater. And then when we get out to beyond that, there's this idea of sphere of concern. The sphere of concerns are things that I can care about, but that I cannot in any way really impact. Traffic, the pandemic, weather. There are many things that I can be concerned about, but that are a little bit beyond my immediate ability to influence. So what I want us to do is to not get mired down in all the things we care about, and focus on the things that we can control and the things that we can influence. And with some of the tools we're going to give you, you're going to be able to make even faster influence and have a very clear path into how you want to make these things happen. So I really want you to focus on that. So Jane Solomon has been working with me to try to help put all this together and conceptualize it. And we came up with this idea of kind of the 4-step process to solving this Rubik's Cube, this small baby cube. And so what we want to do today, and I think you've probably already, you live it and breathe it, is just the reality check of how complicated this is. And when we think about each side of the Rubik's Cube, and we think about delivery room of a baby and the golden hour, and we have admission, and then we have that first few days of life, and then the first week of life, and the first 2 weeks of life, and the family, and all of those dynamics, there are many dimensions to carrying every single day for a small baby. So it's 54 plus variables, and it's a lot to do, and it's a lot to do alone. And I know a lot of you have been trying to do that. And so what I want you to do today, as you're moving forward and thinking about your small baby program for this year, 2024, is what's realistic. because you may not be able to take on the whole cube. You may only be able to take on one side. And then on the next slide, I'm going to show you on each side, we have 9 opportunities to improve. And you may, depending on the needs of your unit, the resources in your unit, and just kind of your passion, you may only be able to work on one square of a side. And that is okay, because remember, we cannot do everything, but we can do something. And it's not okay to do nothing because you can't do everything, that we want to still do something. And so what we wanted to do today, and if you are watching on a computer, you should be able to take your cell phone and scan this QR code. And what I want you to do is look at this new tool that we've given you. It's our gift to you for being here. And if you are don't end up continuing on with the collaborative, this is still our gift to you. It's going to be a great roadmap for you. But if you're in the collaborative, this is your very first assignment. And we are going to work on what we've called and coined the unit sweep. And this is a Google Doc. So you don't have to be logged in, but it'll be easier to make a copy if you are. So scan this, and this is called the unit sweep. And Jane, I don't know if you're where you are. I can't see you on my screen, but let's maybe talk through why we chose this as the first thing we need to do.
Oh, sure. Hello, everyone. So as I was tasked about 3 years ago with starting a small baby program here at St. Joe's, we're a big level 4 NICU. We have almost 80 beds. And just, one of the administrators just dropped it as, I think that'll be a great idea. Let's have a small baby team and a small baby unit. So when I sat down to think about how we're going to do that, I just kept getting farther and farther backed up on the process. And before we could even begin to even think about managing a baby in the delivery room, I felt like we had to look at some practical things that, did we have these things in place before we could even move forward with initiating any new program? So this is kind of a unit sweep that I put together. It's just a very quick way for you to look around in your unit and see what things you have in place, what you don't have in place, before you even move forward in trying to make any process changes to any part of the cube. So for example, what you see here is thermoregulation. So what happened originally with us is I originally thought, okay, we're just going to check everybody's admit temp. That's a big metric that people look at. And then if those are good, then we should be good. But as I began to do that, I realized that some of our care center giraffes didn't work, and we weren't even able to do temperature trending. So that is kind of how the sweep came up. Also, some of the temperature probes that we were using, some worked, some didn't, some had low battery, not every room had one. So those are things that I think, these are process changes and things that you need to look at before you even begin to ask your team to begin a new process or implement any part of the care plan for thermoregulation. So it's just my suggestion to, first of all, look at the support staff that you have. If you're going to be looking at thermoregulation, what kind of support staff do you have to help you with that? Do you have manager buy-in to get any of the new things that you might need? What is your staffing like right now? Is this even a good time to start a new program? I mean, some nurses, and I understand it, will just melt down if you put anything else on their plate. Let's get the pulse of the unit and see, from boots to the ground people all the way up to admin, if we're going to have support for this. The second thing was workflow. So again, temperature management as an example. Who actually gets the admit temp? When do they get it? Sometimes it's missed, sometimes it's not. So for workflow, what we try to do with our all new admissions is we have people that are assigned in the room, similar to when you have a code, and they have specific tasks and roles for the admission of the baby. So none of these metrics gets missed. And if they do, we have 15-minute timeouts to continually do temp checks, because I'm sure everyone has had a wonderful admission temperature, and then 30 to 45 minutes later, when you're placing lines or you don't have the top down quite yet, or you're waiting for x-ray, you don't have a good temp. And then there's always a question of, when should we remove the bag? Should we put another warming mattress on? Why does the servo probe keep falling off? So all of those questions have to be addressed before you kind of roll out a new way that you're going to address thermoregulation on your team. Equipment, I kind of already talked about. education as far as what education has already been done for the team. Is this something that people need a refresher on? This opened up a whole 2 or 3 months of education for our team, and thermoregulation was a really great place to start because that is the one side of the cube that is really owned by the bedside nurse. It is our job to manage a baby's temp, and one of the statistics that I don't know if Kathy has here, but for every drop in temperature, there's a 28% increase in mortality for your infant, for your elbow baby. So I think that's one of those vital signs that's often dismissed because we're focusing so much on airway and blood pressure, but it's very important and owned by the bedside nurse. And then the last one is policy and procedures. You have to take a look, dust those off, and see if you have a policy and procedure for thermoregulation, if it's updated, who is the owner of that, and kind of have all those things in place. So before I would even start any new process measures or implementing anything regarding thermoreg with a small baby, I would have my baseline here to see what I have to work with, because it really isn't fair to ask anyone, a bedside nurse or anyone else, to give you great temperatures across time if they don't have what they need to be able to do the job, or you don't have support from your staff, or the education hasn't been provided to them, or they can't find the policy and procedure because it's buried on the internet somewhere. So this is just the beginning. And then what we would do is once we have those things in place, then we can begin to move forward, or at least put an action plan in place to make a change for that. Yeah, Lisa, it looks like a fishbone diagram. It does. It's very similar to that. A lot of the QI tools that we use in other QI initiatives, I try to make them more nursing friendly. This is just much easier for me in my brain and for other people on the team to understand. But yes, a fishbone is very similar. Yeah, and what Kathy has put here is in each of those areas. So for example, with equipment, do you have the support staff for that? If you need new equipment, workflow would be, of course, what are your care plans? What are your processes for managing temperature? I think you guys can read this. Equipment, you would be addressing if it's broken or any other notes that you have, and then the policies and procedures and protocols. So it's very easy for you to constantly have a snapshot of where you are with these things. So weekly, you can look and see, well, we still don't have any care centers at work. So let's follow up on that the following week. This is also a really good tool for you to share with your managers, so they can get a copy of this to see why you haven't moved forward and why you're having difficulty getting good temps, if it's something that they can do something about. It's a great tracking tool to keep you motivated and keep you reminded of what you're working on.
We said it's not a lot of data collection, and we wanted to keep it short and sweet and make it very actionable, but also very focused. So like Jane said, depending on your role, you may be able to, even on your shift, you could just take your room that you're in. I'm in room 8 today. And you could just look around and say, you know, like if I was going to focus on thermoreg today, what are the barriers to me being able to do my best work on that? Maybe it's respiratory, maybe it's the nutrition, you know, and you get to, for your unit, define those metrics. And what I thought was funny as we were planning with this is if you think about support and staff, that's your team. We can't really do much to control that. That is, you live and work where you live and work. But if you look at WEEP, we were saying those are the things that make us all weep. And so those are the things, the resources that every month we're going to give you the tools to make an impact and go back and not have to recreate the wheel. So when you attend the monthly calls, we're going to have time to connect. And it's going to be that 90-minute call. It's going to be about 30 minutes where we're going to chat about the topic, kind of give a refresher of why it's important to the small baby, what are some of the barriers, and what are some of the most important key things that you have to focus on at the bedside for, you know, whether you're doing an audit, whether you're actually doing the care, and whether you're running a project around that. And so coming to the monthly calls, and again, we have our calendar where it's all broken out. Next month is all about delivery room, transport, admission, golden hour, everything. And that's all 6 sides together. And that's we're going to give you this checklist where next month you're going to be able to go to a delivery and you can just go to a delivery and just go, how did it go? And then you're going to have instant information and say like, okay, what do I want to work on? Do we have it nailed? Like, is my team on it? And we've got no issues here. Then the next month is we're going to be the same thing. Temperature, next month skin, next month infection, next month neuroprotection, next month neurosensory. So it's going to just continue to just build and build. You're going to have all of these tools every single month. and a lot of interaction time. So we're going to talk about temp, and then you're going to be like, okay, what the heck? Why does this probe? What probe are you using? You know, I mean, that comes up a lot, right? Where are you putting the probe, right? We can do some community sourcing around what is the best practice. So when your physicians ask, well, why are you changing that? You can say, hey, here's what we're doing. And here's, you know, I talked to 300 other NICU nurses, and this is what everyone is doing. This is the community standard. It's not just my crazy idea. You know, you can have that backup. And then if we have policies, we will share them. If you have policies, you can share them. So it's really going to be an amazing ability to move fast. And I think, again, stay in our lane as nurses and really move these things forward. Let's see. So if you haven't seen this already, so what we've done for each side of the Rubik's Cube is we have these 9 squares. And these are the parts of the care plan that we are going to give you. And so you can implement a piece of it, all of it, none of it. You can share with us yours if you have a better one. But we're going to take each of these areas, and we've kind of broken them into critical times. So delivery room, admission, the first shift, the first 3 days, the first week, the second week, and the third week. And we're going to give you tools and checklists for each of these. And then you can take them back to your unit and customize them and use them to however you'd like. The other thing we're going to do is provide education in case you are responsible for then feeding this information out to the rest of your group. We're going to give you like little info flyers and things that you can post up for the month. And it's going to talk about the relationship between temp and everything else. You know, if you don't think about temp being a risk factor for IVH, well, then we've missed a piece. If we haven't thought about how does managing our humidity impact our electrolytes, which impacts our nutrition, impacts our respiratory, right? If we haven't thought about that, or it's been difficult to communicate that to some of our newer staff, you are going to have tools. We're going to give you education tools to do that. And so understanding the relationships, but then being able to roll that out and share that, you know, in kind of a new, fresh way with your team. The last thing is for you to take all of what we have and to take this resource guide. And each month, we're going to roll out more and more of the guides to you. We're going to have the 21-day care templates, the care plans, nursing care plans, those resources. And then you get to share back again with what's working. And then we're going to have a Facebook group. And I know some of you aren't on Facebook. We're working on a non-Facebook option for you, maybe another month or so before we have that. But it's going to be a place to continue the connection, to share emails, to share files, to ask questions. This is our crowdsourced area for us in the collaborative to keep moving forward. Give support and get support. So if you have a question, ask it. If you have the answer, give it. If you've already built a great tool or a great fun, you know, like Amanda did an escape room, you know, for her competency day. Like, if you want to know how she did that, ask her, right? Like, let's lean on each other and make this fun, but make it so important and impactful. We have our care plans, which some of you have already seen. I'm not going to show them to you today and let you take a screenshot because you have to be part of the collaborative. It is so important that you're a part of this collaborative. I cannot say it again. And by the end of the year, you're going to have your own custom binder for your team. And again, whether you implement the whole cube or just a side or just a square, you're going to have it in your back pocket and can take it with you. And you can roll it out as is right for your team. The other exciting new thing that we have released, we had some requests from physicians who wanted to get in on our party. And we love that. We love our physician colleagues. We love that there are these MD champions that are around the country, around the world. We actually have already 7 who have offered to help and to meet together to talk about what we're doing and what is the support they can give us as we move this forward into the units. And so they're going to meet quarterly. They're going to also get the same resources. They're going to get a link to watch the recordings of the education that we roll out. And if you're already as a group, let us know. And if you have an MD champion, we can add them in. We're going to do it for no cost to you as long as you've done a group. And this way we can have them be able to connect with other peers and to have some awareness about what we're doing. So this is really exciting because we do want this to be a nursing care collaborative, but we know we all function inside teams. And so if you have a very highly motivated and excited physician, we want them. We will still keep our calls to nurses so that we can speak nurse language and stay in our lane, but we're going to definitely involve them in a bigger way. And we're still, working it all out, but it's kind of an exciting new piece that we're doing. If you haven't registered and you want to register, this is the code, or SBNQCC.com. We do have a coupon code because the prices went up. I know you probably thought I was never going to do it, but I did raise the prices because we promised we would. But since you are here, I want to reward that and to thank you for being here. And so be sure to take a screenshot, but it's going to end on Friday. So Miss Jane, advisors, we've got a few more minutes. I thought we'd maybe move back to our breakout rooms and talk through this sweep. If you look at the sweep, it's actually all the sides. And so what I'd like you to do is to start thinking about, number one, are you a member and are you going to continue on? Which side are you going to maybe go back and review first, whether that's just yourself at the bedside? And then the section at the top that's blank, which is we're going to give you a list every month of key metrics that we think you might want to look at. But again, your unit might be different. That's going to be part of what you get from us, is what would you measure? So if you were thinking about temperature or thinking about respiratory, like what would the sweep be that you would want to do? Do you have the right staffing? Do you have the support from, the divisions that you need? Do you have the equipment you need? What's broken? What needs to be fixed? What have you been waiting on? Because I think it's going to give you so much power to go back and say, like, I did a sweep and here's where I think we're struggling in this area. So how's that sound? Sound good? Okay, cool.
Hey, I was just going to add, so I think one of the things that people really need to understand is once you do the sweep, then you feel like just overwhelmed, like how am I ever going to fix all this? How am I ever going to rewrite every policy and procedure for thermoreg? Well, every time you come on the call, we're going to have those resources for you. That's the beauty of the collaborative. For me, I had to look at every single policy and procedure that we had on thermoreg. Then I had to do a lit review to see if that was updated. So when you go back and look at your PNP, when you come to the collab, we'll be networking and people will be sharing their most recent literature or what they know about temp or what is a normal temp. Or one question always comes up, when do you cool a baby down? How fast do you cool them down? How fast do you warm them up? I mean, really practical things. It must have taken us a month to get everybody on the same page of when we took the bag off the baby for the small babies, when we took the warming mattress out, when we added it back in, when we turned on the humidity, should we pop the top? I mean, I know for all of you at the bedside, we have that all kind of listed out for you in our admission checklist. You don't have to go back and do all that. And you're also going to get education on like Jessica does a whole talk on thermoreg and the importance of it. You can have that for your team if they kind of have gotten lost in that temperature really doesn't matter and we can warm kids up anyway. The impact on temp is absolutely huge. And I'm very passionate about it because that's totally a nursing driven initiative and quality metric. So when I did this week myself, that was a big part and took me almost a year just to do thermoregulation. And we really just went back and I started asking about the care centers. And then we ended up having a representative come in and do an hour in service for our team just on how to use the giraffe. And we were just all mind blown about that and all the ways that we could be using it and using it better. So there's so many pieces. If you just do one tile, you're doing great. But hopefully you won't feel overwhelmed by what you see you need to do because you'll be part of the collaborative and someone will have the answer for you in a nice piece of paper checklist.
Yeah, I was thinking of Beverly. She just did a whole revamp of their humidity policy. And like, she's got every article memorized right now of humidity and all the new guidelines that are coming out. And it's like, who wants to reinvent that? Like, go to Bev and just say like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
like that alone just can save you hours and hours and hours of energy and time. And again, you have the evidence to back it up. So anybody else, Lauren or Amanda, anybody else have any comments from the advisor side or any other questions you guys have just from any attendee? Feel free to, raise your hand or unmute. I'm happy we can run through any questions you have before we go into our little breakout sessions for a few minutes.
I think there was a question just in the chat, Kathy.
Sure.
Can you show all the categories again?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
See, that one should work. And in the sweep, we have each of the sides for you too.
And for those of you who are driver diagram driven QI nurses, these 6 sides of the cube are what we know are the drivers for outcomes for the small baby. So you could imagine having your aim that, you're going to reduce morbidity, mortality in an elbow baby would be your aim. Then if you were using a driver diagram, these are your process measures. These are all the things that we know affect the outcome of the small baby. And then your interventions are going to be all the things that relate to improving those process measures. And those are each of the tiles on each side of the cube. And we're going to look at all those interventions that we know make change and improve areas of thermoreg, nutrition, and family integrated care. But what we had to do here at Joe's is like for thermoreg, you can't give a nurse, 10, 15 checklists in the first hour related to thermoregulation. So in the care plans, we tried to narrow it down to 5 goals in your hour, and then moving forward through the first 21 days. Hopefully that will kind of clarify it for you. We do have a driver diagram if you have a physician or a QI person that would prefer to look at it that way.
Yeah, perfect. Any other question? Well, I do think we should do just a few more minutes of networking. It's my favorite thing. We can just do like 5 minutes. I'll just put you back in the same rooms. I think I can manage to do that without messing it up. And if you're by yourself for some reason, just give me a minute. I'll move you around. And so we'll do that. I'm going to just say, open all the rooms. And then just share a little bit about, I'll go bring that other slide back up. Just what do you think about the sweep? What's going to be the biggest challenge? What are the things you're going to measure? Maybe what tools you've already done. So feel free to do that. And then we'll just do a quick wrap up and head out. Welcome back. Welcome back. I always hate cutting off good conversations. Feels so mean.
Yes, that was terrible.
I know. It's the worst. It's the worst.
We were in the middle of something really good.
Sorry, all right, Maria, you can go back. I'll stick you back in a room. So Jackie's been coming to calls with that grandbaby for so many years that we all feel like we watched her grow up.
Sorry, guys. She's 3 years old. And Kathy, if I could just do a big shout out to you, I feel like we've met one time actually at Orlando, but the rest of the time has been online, and I feel like I know you so well.
Oh,
and I feel so loved by everybody, all the breakout rooms and all the people I've met over the years. So wonderful. I'm looking forward to the work.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. We appreciate you. All right. Well, I was saying I hate breaking up good conversations, but I know that many of you have to move on for the rest of your day. Anybody have any burning questions or have any takeaways or, just feel free to share. I mean, again, this is a collaborative, so don't be shy. You can either like raise your hand virtually or just unmute. We're a casual community here.
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
Are you talking to me?
Sure.
Oh,
anybody.
Okay. My challenge is Children's Mercy Hospital is a big unit. The small baby unit is small, but it's pretty active. And we have some inborn, but most are not. We have a metro group, so there's a lot of hospitals involved in the work that goes with small baby. So that's my challenge. All of my doctors go to all these different hospitals and the nurse practitioners as well. So that's going to be the challenge for me.
Yeah. Well, I think what's nice is, we have a few freestanding children's hospital. Diane has hers and Bev and Lauren. So you'll have some of these individuals who are in similar situations, who are in big units or units that cover a community, say in San Diego or even in Los Angeles, where we've got these giant networks of hospitals. And so I think you'll find in the collaborative, maybe some commonality between that, and we'll get to know each other's, kinds of units, and you can, group yourselves together.
Thank you so much, Kathy.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Kathy, it's Jane.
Hi, Jane.
Hey, clarification for me, and perhaps this will be with the kickoff, but can you just talk about the Facebook group a little bit and the purpose of that and what we'll find over there and how we would utilize it?
Sure. Yeah. So, it's much like if you think of just any online forum. So we'll be posting prompts and we'll be having, our advisors will be in there moderating from time to time and have special topics, but it will be a place for you to ask and, give and get support is just the easiest way for me to say it. If you have a question, like as happens almost every day, somebody asks you to do something crazy and you're just like, I don't know if that's really what we should be doing. And, you kind of just roll with it and you want to just validate that feeling. And I'm looking at Ann Shields because she has some of the best hacks. She's a night shift nurse and she's, on her own. And, she has come up with so many great hacks over the years that she shares with us on our community calls. So I think of it a place to give and get support. And if you're just like, I'm so frustrated or like, this is taking forever. And then, Jane or Shannon or, Rochelle or, whoever can hop in and just say, yeah, I've been there. Like, don't give up. It's possible. And here's what we did. And I think it's so easy to just get stuck that my hope is that that not only the calls, but the in between. I mean, there's going to be 30 days in between our calls, and there's going to be lots of questions that come up as you start to, try to discuss this with your team, or you're prepping for a meeting. And I just want you to not feel alone. And I think what's important is going back to that idea of what could I do today? Those babies are showing up every unit, whether you have a small baby or a big baby who shows up in your unit, you're going to have an assignment, or you're going to play some role the next day you walk into the unit. And what can I do? What could I take from what I've learned and just make this day, this shift better? How can I help this baby? And that's what we know back from Heidelise Al's work, right? When she first was inventing the NIDCAP, right? The developmental care paradigm. She had research nurses who worked 8-hour shifts 5 days a week. That's what she was funded for. And then she compared those babies that got NIDCAP care, and they only got it on the weekdays, not the weekends. And those back in the day, 8-hour shifts. So 2 shifts of the day, they didn't get it. Even those babies who only got 8 hours a day of intervention had better outcomes. So that's what you have to remember is like, yes, if we could streamline and standardize and everybody do it the same way and do it perfectly, amazing. Probably never going to happen. But what can you do better? Right? And even if it's just you that day, what could I do? Can I learn how to use those giraffe trends better? Can I use this tool I have better? Can I communicate with my colleagues better, with my physician colleagues? Can I learn new techniques to get those orders I need and want? All of that is possible. And so in the community, that's what we want to do. We want you to never give up, that you make a difference. You're that one nurse. You can make an impact that day. And it's not always easy, but that if you see the examples and know you're not alone in this goal, that it can be easier. It's never going to be easy, but it can be easier. Long answer, Jane. But
no, that's perfect. I think that's what all of us as nurses are looking for. And also just to put everyone at ease and manage expectations, the whole collaborative is a nurse-driven collaborative. So all of the metrics and suggestions and changes and things are all related to bedside care that the nurse really owns. So we won't really be talking about, should we use the oscillator or the jet for these kids? We can talk about it, but that's really not something that we as bedside nurses have a lot of influence over. So we are going to try to stay in our lane with what can nurses do at the bedside that they own, that is part of their process and their practice in all of these areas of the cube. And then if you have physician buy-in, well, of course, you can manage respiratory differently, but the expectation and the focus is on, if nurses can move this needle 80% of the way, you're going to have improved outcomes for yourself and for your baby, not just in the long term, but that day. If you can figure out when to take the mattress out and your baby isn't overheated, that's a win for the day. And I know that's $1 million question, but a lot of people, we've kind of figured that out. So just to let everyone know, we're not going to set you up for something that you are not going to be able to have any kind of link to or control over.
Awesome. Any other comments, questions, concerns, and random questions? Just ask now. We've got them all here. I love your smiles. Thanks, Amber. Love it. Awesome. Awesome. You guys are amazing. All right. Any other final questions? Give you back a few minutes of your day.
All I was just going to say is I'm very grateful to be here. I think it just gives a lot of motivation, especially as working as a nurse and feeling like you can do something, doing one thing, and also having a community of support. Just very grateful to be here and be part of a collaborative and something that's more like bigger than myself outside of my unit as well. Thank you.
Thanks for that. You're welcome. Anybody else? Super excited. Also, we're very excited to have all of you. We're excited to work with all of you. If you have any questions, always just email support@Synapse Care. That's where the team is able to check all the emails. If you are struggling with your hospital and you need copies of the letters for the admin support, I don't know if we can maybe just email out any resources we have. We did create like a folder with some example letters that you could share with your admin if you need that. But anyways, thanks everybody. Crystal and your group, thanks for joining. I saw your whole team wave. Thank you guys. Love it. Love it. Love it. And then February, be ready. So do your unit sweeps, whether you're part of the collaborative or not. You're going to do this unit sweep. You're going to start to think about where are the areas that you maybe need to dig in and, start to have some oversight of that. And then next month, we're digging in to delivery room, admissions, transport, and all of that. So it's going to be exciting. And we've got a lot of work to do between now and February 7, but we're excited to get you all started, and reach out if you need me to hop on a call with you, or we'll do what we can. Okay. All right. All right. We'll see you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks, Kathy.
You're welcome. Thank you guys.
Thank you. I love your Taylor Swift heart. It's all Taylor Swift in my house all the time.
Is that what it is?
All the time.
Bye,
Good.
everybody.
Good to see you, Jackie.